Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Mental Health Monday. My name is Naomi,
And my name is Grace.
and we are both peer educators at CAPS. Today, we're going to do a presentation on healthy relationships.
So, what is a healthy relationship, or what is a relationship in general? So, there's a lot of different ways to define what a relationship is, and it's really important to note that a relationship can mean many different things for many different people. And it's really just a diverse term in general. But two definitions I really like are the way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected, or the state of being connected. I really like this one because it touches on concepts and objects, and it just goes to realize like having a relationship with your home or a relationship with your dog. Those are all important relationships that help and affect other relationships in your life. So I really like that definition. And then another definition is the way in which two or more people or groups regard and behave towards each other. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a significant other or a spouse or a partner. It could be a parent, friend, mentor, teacher, and most importantly, not most importantly, but one I really like to talk about is yourself, which leads us to the next
Awesome.
slide. So focus on yourself. So I'm a really big believer on, and I used to that you can't love. Well, I don't want to say you can't love someone else, but it helps to love yourself first before you can give time and energy to somebody else. And I used to listen to a song all the time with my mom. It used to go, "I love myself so much that I can love you so much that you can love you so much that you can love me so much." So it just goes to show that when you love yourself, you're able to love someone else, and then they can love you, and the cycle continues. So some points to learn how to love yourself are learn your love language. So if you aren't familiar with the love languages, it's basically different ways on how I want to say like you best reciprocate love or you best give love, because that can mean different things to different people. So there's a few quizzes out there. I'll try to put one in the chat, but if you Google like learn your love language, it should come up. And I think if I didn't do a presentation with you about it, Naomi, I think I did a presentation with Kamara on it.
Yeah, I don't think we did, but
Okay,
that sounds
that was like
interesting.
yeah, it was like 2 summers ago, so it might be hard to find, but there's definitely a lot of videos on there. So learning your own love language. So for example, it could be physical touch. So getting yourself a massage, doing your hair, moving your body. If you're a person that likes to focus on like how your body feels and your physical well-being, then these could be good for you. Or receiving gifts. If you're a person that likes to buy gifts for yourself or gifts for other, this might be something that you want to explore. So like buying yourself new clothes or planning a vacation or starting a DIY project. But learning your love language is overall a great way to learn like how to best invest your time. Moving on, so having a self-care day is really sorry. I'm moving. Yeah, having a self-care day is important. Letting go of toxicity, listening to your feelings, stating your affirmations. So if you don't know what affirmations are, that's basically like ways to positively um, state words of positive messages to yourself. So like simply like looking in the mirror and saying you are beautiful, you're smart, you're strong. Saying that out loud can rechange your thinking and your mental state to like actually believing that and overall having a better mental state. Stop being so hard on yourself. Give yourself room for error. I wanted to touch on this point because if you aren't hard on other people, why should you be hard on yourself? And I know that can be like a really hard thing to like reframe your thinking about, but just reminding yourself that you can have room for error. You know, you're constantly growing, you're constantly changing. So you're giving yourself time to realize that it's okay to have bad days and have bad moments. So overall, stop being so hard on yourself. And that mindset changes at your own pace. It's not something that like has to be worked on overnight. And then which leads to the next point, move at your own pace. Don't focus on like what everyone else doing. Um, and then let your mind wander. So let your mind have time to explore new feelings, new thoughts. That's really important. So yeah.
Awesome. And then now we'll focus on spotting an unhealthy relationship. So, like Grace touched on before, relationships aren't only like significant others. This can happen in multiple different relationships in your life, like friendships or parents. siblings, anything like that. So, some general things you can notice for an unhealthy relationship is in this cycle of abuse on the screen. I really like this because it helps you detect patterns within a relationship that might signal to you that it's not the healthiest thing to be a part of. So, the first thing is tension building. Which is basically like anything that before an incident of abuse, the build up to it. And then number two is the actual incident. So any form of abuse, which can be verbal, emotional, physical. And this is really like the height of the conflict. Number three is recollection. So basically, like a lot of apologies from either person who did the abuse, giving gifts to the other person to help them forgive the other person, anything that can just make the conflict not seem as big. And then number four is calm, which basically is forgetting the incident ever happened. This says the honeymoon phase, which I really like. So basically going back to the state of everything's good, everything's fine, and then the cycle repeats itself. And this can happen, like I said, in multiple different types of relationships. And it's definitely not the only sign as well. So down here at the bottom left, there's also other signs like dependency. So if both of you in a relationship are dependent upon each other, that can really isolate you from other aspects of your life. Any physical, verbal, or sexual abuse is obviously an unhealthy concept in a relationship. And then another one you can look for is any control. So if the one person in a relationship is preventing the other person from doing things they need to do in their life, that can be very unhealthy. And then on this slide, it talks about how to build healthy relationships. So all of this I got from this website right here, if you want to look more into it. But basically, I like the fair fight tips they gave. And a lot of this deals with communication in relationships. So a lot of unhealthy aspects come from conflict within a relationship. So really finding out ways you can make conflict a little more easy will really help facilitate a healthy relationship. So here it says to cool down before you talk, use I statements, keep your language clear and specific, focus on the current issue, take responsibility for mistakes, and recognize some problems are not easily solved. So I think all of this boils down to making sure conflict doesn't get too heightened to a point where it's abuse. And these are just some ways you can prevent that. And then on the left, I just have other tips. So working on conflict resolution, keeping life balance. So making sure one relationship isn't taking up so much of your time. And a big one is communication. Oh, I think you're muted.
Thank you. So moving on, we have resources for relationships. So basically a plethora of resources to use for if you're in an unhealthy relationship, how to identify if you're in an unhealthy relationship, and just overall to see like if your relationship is healthy. So the first one is a Trevor Project. If you research resources for healthy relationships by the Trevor Project, it gives a lot of great quizzes, articles, hotlines for checking if you're in a healthy relationship. And then the second one is healthy versus unhealthy. So this is by the domestic abuse hotline and then violence hotline. And then there's also the number 4 below. Thank you for adding that, Naomi, because I don't remember doing that. So that's a number to call if you think you're in a domestic violence situation. And then there's also the article there is points to that we didn't elaborate on how to see if you're in an abusive relationship or an unhealthy relationship, because there is a difference between the two. Both are very serious and like should be talked about, but it can help identify like where you at on that spectrum. That's what they call it, a spectrum of healthy to abusive. And then the last one is bystander, which we didn't talk about, but I think it's really important to realize that even if you aren't going through an unhealthy relationship, see, if your friends are, or maybe that's not something like you want to outright say, like, are you in an abusive relationship, by preparing yourself for those signs and, it's really noisy outside, but preparing yourself with the signs and resources on how to treat someone if they're in a relationship that's abusive. And it's by NSVRC tip sheet. So if you look that up and then bystander intervention tips and strategies, it's a great resource for recognizing that and how to be proactive. And then the last link is for reporting sexual misconduct that may happen on U of M Dearborn. So if you are sexually assaulted on the campus or know someone who is, it's a link that provides great resources to report that, how to help like identify that, how to get the resources, how to sign up for CAPS, how to talk to a Title X coordinator. So that's a really great resource to have.
Yep, and just simply typing in reporting sexual misconduct UM Dearborn brings you right to that. And I think Grace covered the rest of this as well. So yeah, those are really good resources. And then these are just general CAPS resources for anything. So we have the number for CAPS there, our webpage, which you can also type in UM Dearborn CAPS, our email, and then also programs we have. And I think that is everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you everyone for listening to this Mental Health Monday topic.
Thank you.